What's up, everyone? This is Midnight Strike 3625, welcoming you to ACDC Mania. In the next few days, I'm going to be wrapping up the last leg of the ACDC discography, and that entails 3 studio albums, Stiff Upper Lip, Black Ice, and Rock or Bust, consecutively, just to kind of wrap up the ACDC discography that has been going on from March to December of 2014. Now that Rock or Bust has been released, it actually just came out yesterday, picked it up at 3 in the morning, I will be reviewing, like I said, all 3 albums consecutively, probably record them, pre-recorded as well, and just be uploading them in the next couple days. So expect a ton of AC/DC reviews and a ton of new things coming afterwards. And after the AC/DC reviews, I will probably end up backtracking to the Backtracks box set, which I actually just got. It's a huge collection of songs and B-sides and just rarities that you probably haven't heard of unless you are either in a different country other than the Americas, or Europe, or the UK, or any of those countries, but or you download. So that's really the only way you would have been able to hear some of these things, some of these songs, and they've been pretty much in the AC/DC vault on lockdown until they were released on this set. I've had these songs for a long time, but then again, a lot of people haven't. So without further ado, here is the first of the AC/DC Mania reviews, the Stiff Upper Lip review. So I'm going to kick off these reviews with AC/DC's entry into the new millennium, Stiff Upper Lip. This came about 5 years after Ballbreaker, and up until this point was the longest running gap in between studio albums. Of course, Ballbreaker and Razor's Edge were 5 years as well, but there were other things in between there to kind of ease the gap a little bit, like AC/DC Live and the single Big Gun. So those came in 1992 and 1993 respectively, so there wasn't really much of a difference. In this case, there was definitely a big difference, as there was really nothing being released in that time period other than pre-released demos on Bonfire, as well as some stuff that, there was one unreleased track, but it was a cover by Chuck Berry, and it was AC/DC's version that was found on TNT, but like I said, pre-released material that has already been released. Not really much of anything new in a very long time. Now, for a lot of AC/DC fans, this was quite disturbing. So, when news broke out that Stiff Upper Lip was going to be released in 2000, there was kind of like this breath of fresh air. Like, finally, these guys are going to be releasing something. They're not dead. They're not retiring. It's rock or bust, basically. That's going to be used later on in the future. But then again, I digress. This album isn't exactly their greatest. While listening to this album, I kind of got the sense that AC/DC were growing tired, growing old, and maybe they should retire. I mean, maybe this should have been their last album. They definitely show their age on a lot of songs, especially the song Come and Get It, where in the chorus where he says, if you want it, come and get it, and then there's these backing vocals that where Angus or Malcolm or Cliff or whoever's singing them just sound like zombies. They sound very old and decrepit on this album, and especially with Brian, his vocals seem to be worsening, especially on this album. They're very scratchy. He sounds a little bit like a howling tomcat, for God's sakes. I mean, they would definitely improve on Black Ice, and even more so on Rock or Bust, so I'm not really going to harp on it on this review too much, but I digress. I know I said that twice. It's there, so I'm going to point it out. This album kind of lacks originality for me. Also, it's a little bit more bluesy than their past efforts, and it doesn't have as much of kind of that hard rock edge, such as, the Razor's Edge had, or Ballbreaker even though Ballbreaker sounded, a little bit more mellow. It had a little bit more of the catchy rhythm section to it, and, I don't know, just some better lyrics, I suppose, some clever lyrics. This album kind of falls flat in that department. I mean, Stiff Upper Lip kind of has okay lyrics, but overall it just sounds a little bit contrived. Meltdown's kind of the same thing. Man, it's getting hot, hot, hot. Man, it's getting hot in here. It's a meltdown. I mean, the most jarring song, though, on this album has got to be Hold Me Back. He repeats the same line over and over again. There's one verse, one or two verses, and then for the rest of the song, Angus plays the same guitar melody, and all Brian is saying, "Don't hold me back, don't hold me back. It was a heart attack. Don't hold me back." That's literally it. And like I said, while listening to this album, I was kind of doubting whether or not Blow Up Your Video was their worst, because this has the filler, but it also has some really average sounding songs that just aren't that great at all. This is the album, kind of the breaking point, the turning point for the band, where after this album they kind of decided, do we really want to do this anymore? There was a point in time around 2004ish where Angus had contacted Brian and asked, do you really want to do this? Do we really want to come together as a band? Are we really up for this to make another album? I mean, come on, it's been like 4 years already, and we haven't gotten a single thing done. So there was kind of a point in turmoil in the middle section between this album and Black Ice. So thank God they made Black Ice, because they definitely sound invigorated or reinvented on that album, so to speak. So basically, this album has 12 tracks, and only a handful of them are actually pretty decent to good. Stiff Upper Lip, I mean, the first track, it's a rockin', really bluesy, kind of catchy melodic song with some great vocals, actually, surprisingly, on this album. So this is kind of like a little bit of a twist. I actually do love the title track. This is one of the better songs on the album, as well as Meltdown, even though I kind of poked fun at that song earlier on. It does have a good beat to it. House of Jazz is the next one, and I gotta say, the beginning kind of reminds me of an 8-bit video game a little bit. I don't know, I see it as like a dungeon crawling theme, like in Legend of Zelda or something. I mean, it's a really kind of awesome mix, or maybe like even a boss theme. I mean, I could definitely see this song working in 8-bit, especially that intro. I really do like the guitar riffs and the melody of the song in general. It kind of drags on towards the midsection, but then it, kind of kicks it into full gear again towards the end of it, or 3/4 mark. The next song is Hold Me Back, and like I said, already explained my feelings on this song. I really don't like it at all. It's one of the worst songs on the album, as well as Come and Get It, which I'll talk to once we get to that point. The next song is Safe in New York City. This was one of the singles, and man, ACDC really know how to choose the singles. I mean, all the singles that they choose are usually actually the best songs on the album. Usually when band members choose the singles, or the record companies choose singles, it's usually the most accessible song, or radio friendly, or mainstream. No screaming, no hard guitars, no heavy aspects. That's why Metallica's, most of their singles, look at that one, The Unforgiven, Nothing Else Matters. I mean, Mama Said. It's just the soft ones. But AC/DC chooses the right singles, probably the best singles on the album. Stiff Upper Lip, Satellite Blues, which is one of my favorites on the album, Safe in New York City as well, and I don't know if All Screwed Up was on there, but that's one of my favorites too. So really great song, really catchy. I really like just the pacing of it, the tempo of it all, as well as the guitar riff. Lost my train of thought there. The next song is Can't Stand Still. It's kind of catchy. I don't know. I mean, I like the guitar riff in the beginning, as well as just the verse structure. I don't know. It's just kind of a catchy song. But that's the problem with this album. There's a lot of catchy riffs, but the overall structure isn't as nearly as good as their prior work, especially the Razor's Edge prior, especially Flick of the Switch prior in their prime. So this is just my opinion, so take it or leave it. The next song is Can't Stop Rock and Roll, another one of my favorites. I do believe this was a single. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, this is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. It's got the hard guitars, it's a little bit more heavy, it's got that crunch in the production as well, and just the really well-crafted lyrics. I mean, this is one of those songs that actually makes sense in an album that really doesn't have any inspiration lyric-wise, and they don't sound all that old. They don't sound like they're aging on this song personally. This song actually sounds like it could have been on Ballbreaker, or it could have been on, say, I don't know, the Razor's Edge, maybe, if they kind of amped up the production a little bit to sound like, a little bit more echoey or reverbish, I suppose. The next song is Satellite Blues, and like I said, one of the singles, one of my favorite songs on the album. My favorite part about this song is probably the chorus. Even though they do sound a little bit older, or like they show their age more in the chorus, especially the backing vocals. It's probably one of the worst things about this album is the backing vocals. I do like it. It sounds a little bit refreshing, especially with the music video. I don't know, the music video is a little bit weird, but very interesting nonetheless. So, Satellite Blues. The next one, well, I'll be damned, it's damned. They definitely show their age in this one. Well, I'll be damned, you know, like just some of those phrases and the way that Brian Johnson sings in this song is just, it shows his age, but it's a really good song as well. I do like the tempo of it, like I said, for Safe in New York City. Safe in New York City was a faster paced song, but this is the slower paced song to kind of counteract that. So it's got the nice balance. The next song, Come and Get It. Come and get it if you want it. Yeah, no. Never doing that again. So, yeah, this is not one of my favorite songs. This is not a song that I like. In fact, I grow tired of even thinking about this song because it just, they sound like zombies. And the lyrical matter doesn't make any sense. It sounds like you got it off of the back of a lottery ticket or a cereal box or a poem book or something. I mean, this is going to be a pattern, especially in the album Black Ice, where it's probably one of my least favorite albums lyrically, Black Ice is. But it has the music to back it up at least. I mean, this album, not so much, with the exception of a few songs. So, Come and Get It, one of my least favorite songs on the album. All Screwed Up. This one has an interesting guitar riff to it. It's not really that repetitive, except for in the lyrical content with the way that Brian Johnson sings it. Give It Up. This is a pretty damn good closer to this album, and this is one of the few okay songs. I mean, it's not necessarily one of my favorites, but it's not necessarily one of my least favorites. So it's just kind of in the okay realm, but it is a good closer for this album. So with that, I am going to give ACDC Stiff Upper Lip a 6 out of 10. It's only average. I'm not going to say it's worse than Blow Up Your Video. It's not a horrible album. It's just, it's so average. And it's so average. And it's so average that it makes itself poor, if that makes sense. So, 6 out of 10. This has been Night Strike 3625. Well, I'll be damned. Keep calm and rock on.